Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at Sunset Gower Studios in Hollywood. I'm delighted to be joined with Alex with his fantastic movie, The Worst You Can Say Is No. Let's take a look at the clip.
Okay, today's the day you ask for her number. Shoot your shot. The worst she can say is no. Wait, there's so many more worse things she can say than no, like...
I actually have a boyfriend already, and he owns this coffee shop.
Alex, thank you so much for bringing your film to us.
Absolutely.
It was so entertaining.
Yeah.
In a minute long, but it really, really was. For those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis.
Yeah, so it's essentially, it's funny because like, I was looking at the program list of all the films that were playing at the festival, and we were there last night, so we got to see them all. And there's like a bunch of films that are like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and here I'm like the 1 minute one. And so I was just like, oof, like I hope this plays well. But the very brief synopsis is that it's about a guy who sees a cute barista at a coffee shop and comes up with the strength to ask her for her number. But he thinks of all the crazy and wacky scenarios that could possibly happen before he actually goes out and asks her for her number, which you have to see the film to know what the actual outcome is. But that's essentially just a guy asking a girl for her number, essentially.
But the anxiety that comes with that is a lot, you know?
And it's loosely based off of the one time I actually asked a girl for her number. And thankfully, in my scenario, she said yes, which is cool. That was really great. But like, literally, I blacked out. Blacked out completely, and my heart was just like racing so much because like, you know, I think that was like the first time I did it. I was in college and like I very new to the dating scene, and I was just like putting myself out there, and I was like, hey, what you want to come in? So it worked out, but yeah, loosely based off of that brief situation.
Well, listen, good job. It's actually like, you know, to make a short film is not an easy thing, but you know, you threw us right in there, and already I was in this scene. You said it really well, like it was like you were straight there. Tell us a little bit about where, obviously a little bit inspired behind the story, but also where you're like, how you knew how you wanted this kind of setting to go. Because the wonderful thing is, this is kind of universal for a lot of people. Like no one's really alone in asking this hard question, and you set it up really, really well in this coffee shop. Yeah,
so like essentially, sorry, can you rephrase the question?
Yeah, totally.
Like, so,
in terms of, tell us about how you decided to kind of create in this particular setting,
Yeah, so I'm trying to think on that right now. So you're saying like, how I
how you decided to kind of set in the coffee shop and that kind of whole particular scenario.
I see. So basically like the inception of like how this film like came to be and how like I decided to go for it was one of my friends came to me with the challenge, was like, can we make a film in 30 seconds? I was like, yes, we can. And I actually wrote a script, and I have a couple like producing partners of mine, my good friend Renato Paniagua, and then Catherine Mendez, really great people and creatives, and we were kind of just like workshopping ideas amongst each other. And honestly, like this was just like a random idea that just like came to me, and Kat was like, I really like that idea, you should expand upon this. Like, great. So I started writing it, and it turned from like half a page to like 1.5 pages and almost like 2 pages, because like I started thinking of like visuals, and like when I write scripts, a lot of the visuals come through because I feel like I'm more of like a visual filmmaker, director, editor. And so that's kind of like how it came to be. But like how we actually decided to go for like a coffee shop. We're coffee fiends. My friends and I'm a coffee fiend. I had a large ass cup of coffee today already.
Cheers to that, yes.
So Priscilla's in Burbank is a really good coffee shop. But like I decided to hit up a coffee shop because I felt like that's a pretty universal place for you to kind of like, you know, people watch, and like, you know, you can see like a bunch of people there. And there was a shop that I reached out to called Jesse's Grind in Winnetka. And super nice establishment, and it's owned by Latina folks over there, so they're running the coffee shop, and they're super nice. And I say that because my cousin, when I was trying to find a location to film at, she was like, hey, you should have Jesse's Grind, and here's their Instagram. It's like, cool. And you know, as filmmakers, when you're trying to find, especially like scrappy filmmaking, you know, it's like, I gotta find a location, I gotta figure out how all this is gonna work. And I drafted a long message and sent it to her on Instagram. I'm just like, please, I hope it doesn't cost too much. And She's just like, come film. Like, our doors are wide open for you. That sounds awesome. And I come to find out that they just opened as well. Like, they opened about like a year ago, so they're very new to this experience. And I also found out through Jessie, just talking to her, she opened up a coffee shop for the first time because it was a pandemic, and she decided to just try something new. And she at first did coffee on sets. So like, she was like a coffee cart that would come on set to film sets, and she would make coffee for everyone. So she's into like the filmmaking language. So I think she was super excited to have it like in her shop over there. So
absolutely.
It was a lot of fun, honestly, to film it.
Absolutely. And what you filmed whilst it was open?
Yes.
How was that?
It was a bit of a challenge, honestly. So like, I think the biggest challenge, which for me, was that it was like a 3-person crew. So I was directing and camera operating at the same time. And then I had 2 other folks who were helping me out. And then my girlfriend was there as well, supporting. So like, it was a very small crew, but only 2 of us actually had like real filmmaking production experience.
Yeah.
And so when we get there, and my biggest fear was that like, okay, Jessie, like, you let us film here, but like, do you really know what you put yourself through? Because like, filmmaking is a big thing, and like, we couldn't bring like any studio lights because I didn't want to disrupt their customer flow, because we were already being disruptive. So in my head, I was like, I need to be the least disruptive as possible. So I need to figure out my technology and make sure that like everything we can do is on the fly and easy for us to do. So we filmed on an A7S4. Because
the visuals are great.
Yes, the visuals are great, and not only that, but the low light of it is very good. And I wanted that camera for that reason, because we didn't bring any studio lights, so we had to use the natural light that came from the sun through like their big open window in the front, and then the house lights there. And so I had to make sure like that was good. It's like, okay, so that's good, check. And I think we had one light like mounted to the top of like the rig as well, because we also put it on a like a Ronin rig. So it was super easy to kind of just like, fly with it, do a couple shots here and there. Thankfully, we filmed a little bit while it was like opening, we filmed a little bit while the shop was like operational. And so we filmed a little bit there, but then we're also able to rehearse with the actors and make sure that like our beats are like well set. And then the shop closed at 3, so from 3 to like 6 or 7, we actually filmed. And we had a couple extras, background folks like stick around and like fill the space, make sure it's like lived in, and there's an actual functioning coffee shop. And but yeah, definitely it was challenging to navigate, but I think we got it done.
And what's the reaction been like? Because you don't know, you may have inspired many people to go up finally to the person they want to ask out.
You know what's funny? A couple of the filmmakers from NewFilmmakers LA like came up to me last night, and they were like, "Dude, that was so relatable." And it's funny because the inception of the film, the actual idea, it's funny, like the actual idea of the film was guy gets nervous and he kind of psychs himself out. Then he actually asks her for her number, and she says yes. That's how the original inception was. And hopefully by this time you watch the film and you understand that like in the actual film, the guy doesn't even ask her for the number. He just like grabs his cup and awkwardly like walks away, walks out of frame, which for me is super relatable, because again, like you kind of like set yourself up and you're like, maybe not today, maybe like the next day. But I wrote it that way because in my head, in my filmmaker brain, I was like, there's a lot of things, a lot of scenarios in life where we tell ourselves no before even like doing it, like whether we're trying to apply for a job or trying to like get this role on set. Like we tell ourselves like, oh, we're not good enough, and then we come up with these scenarios before like anything positive ever happens. And the original intent of the film was to, kind of flip the idea's head and be like, well, she said yes. So like, maybe just go for it. But the way that the film was working when we had that original ending, it just like, it didn't feel relatable. And that's the biggest thing. Like it didn't feel relatable. So I decided to cut a whole section out of it and just make it so that he just walks off and like kind of awkwardly walks off. So that's kind of like how that happened. But the reception of the film has been pretty good so far. I'm super happy that the crowd is really a really engaging crowd at the festival. It's all about the crowd, like totally. I love like the experience of laughing amongst one another. And I felt like we had a pretty good reaction to it.
Yes, you did.
I've been told that by a couple folks when they saw that it was a 1-minute film, they're like, I don't know what's gonna happen with a 1 minute film. But then they told me afterwards, like, yo, you pulled it off. You
No,
told the story in
seriously.
like 1 minute. And I was like, thank you. Like, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, that's why that's why it's so easy to have a conversation about this film, because you really did do that. What is next for you?
What is next? So that project, The Worst You Can Say Is No, was a project that, like, you know, since the pandemic, it's been hard for me creatively to, like, come up with that next project that's gonna bite me. You know, because, like, I feel like I graduated film school in 2019, so I'm still pretty green and pretty new to this industry, like, in its entirety. And I did a bunch of films, like, right out of college, and it was super fun. So, you know, just getting the reps in as a filmmaker. And this film, because of the pandemic, like, I haven't made anything, honestly, in a really long time. And this is, like, my first, like, time going back into it and actually, like, making something that, like, I wrote and directed and then edited. So I'm super happy that I did it. And then with this whole organization and your support, it's another reminder of, like, you know, we have to keep going. We have to keep on pursuing what we love and what we want to do. I'm mostly in post-production. Like, that's another, my passion as well. Like, really editing. Like, you can lock me in an editing room for like a whole day and I won't even know what time it is, you know? Like, it's just like, it's like music to me, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like, it's rhythmic. It's soothing almost. It's almost like an escape in my like eyes as well. Like, you know, people go to the movies to escape, they read a book to escape, watch TV. For me, like, actually making the thing is just very soothing and a bit of escapism for myself. And so I say all that because that's what I've done, like, during my day job as well, like a lot of post-production. And now because of this experience, I'm thinking, like, I gotta keep on doing, keep on doing the do, keep on, you know, making stuff. So I have a couple shorts, like, in mind right now. Nothing's, like, fully officially written out. But for me, you know, saying all that, writing is also something that's hard for me to do at the same time, because like I said, I'm a very visual filmmaker, and my issue is that as an editor, I'm already cutting in my head when I'm writing and conceptualizing the idea. And so it's hard for me to kind of put words on the page, but thankfully my writing partner, Renato Paniago Jr., he is such a beautiful writer. Like, the same thing for me, like, feeling like I'm playing music in, you know, editing. For him, it's like writing. It's like, its words are the notes that are on the page. So thankfully, like, we're a really good team. And then, of course, Catherine Mendez, who's another producing partner of mine. We're always coming together and making cool ideas. I'm experimenting with another idea that involves loneliness, which has definitely been a motif in the work that I've produced. Not that I feel like it's not that, like, I don't have friends or I don't have family. I have both, but there's something about, like, feeling lonely that I feel like has been a presence in my life, and it definitely comes from, I'm of Mexican origin. I'm Latino, Latinx, and I grew up in a very affluent neighborhood. When, like, it's funny because, like, you know, I grew up in Menlo Park, California, which is, like, that's where Facebook is. That's where, like, all the tech, you know, people are. So there's a lot of money in my neighborhood. And, you know, you're looking through all these houses and you see where the Mexicans live. You know why? Because there's a Dodgers flag right out there. So, but because of that, I felt like I was very disconnected from my own community. Like my other, like, you know, Latinx, Latino people in my community. I felt very disconnected. And because of that, people thought that I was, like, either not Mexican enough or too Mexican for them, you know, to quote the Selena movie, if y'all know. But it was challenging to kind of, like, navigate who my friends are or my family is, and, like, through all that, I found inspiration in filmmaking and movies and, you know, being escapist, like watching Godzilla movies and Marvel and Star Wars. Like, I found, like, a lot of passion through that, and that's definitely where I'm very thankful that, like, I'm able to use that and harness that into, like, a superpower in some sort, you know, like, to create films and to create and, you know, work on stuff and work with an awesome community of filmmakers. So all that to say, like, that has definitely led me to, like, loneliness as a motif to be, like, in my films. And I'm experimenting with a concept for a film where there's a character who is dealing with a job that they really don't like, or, like, a job that is definitely not what they want to be doing. And they have goals and aspirations to do something completely different in something else, and experimenting with, like, the ridiculousness of a situation like that, but, like, also finding, like, where you can find how you can apply your passions into, like, you know, your next steps, essentially. So working with a couple different ideas, but also I'm trying to get into animation as an animation editor, because I just love the collaboration in animation as an editor, because like the way I see it, editing or the editor is almost like a writer in animation. Like you're there literally through every single part of the production process, and you actually have a good say to like create the film with your director, writers, and stuff like that. So like I'm trying to wiggle my way into that world.
I love that.
So,
I love that you're doing all these amazing things and branching off into all these, you know, different worlds. So, so well done you. But listen, you did a great job in bringing a 1 minute film. I can't wait to when you make a 5 minute film and what that could bring. And a feature. But no, seriously, they did a really, really good job and a really good concept. So thank you, Alex. Welcome to the New Filmmakers LA family.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me, y'all.
Thanks, Alex.
Cheers. Thank y'all.